Hello, every Monumental Millionaire. I am joined here today by the beautiful Stephanie Nikolic, who is a confidence creating sales funnel strategist, and the lovely Laura Wright, who is epic at sales, who creates epic leaps in people's businesses. And we are joined here today by our guest, Regan Hillyer. Hi, Regan. How are you?
Hey, I'm awesome. Thanks for having me on.
We're so excited to have you on. So why don't you introduce yourself and let everybody know kind of what you're up to, what it is that you do.
Absolutely. So I'm a speaker, a coach, and entrepreneur. There's really two things I help people do. Number one is getting really clear on unlocking their success mindset and doing all the internal work required to create external results. And then the second thing is figuring out, what is this true message that they're born to share with the world? Then how do we unleash that? How do we monetize that? How do we go really big with that and create a massive impact?
That's amazing. So for those of you guys who are watching this for the first time, this is episode number 2. So I know probably many of you are new. Our guest brings the topic, and we don't know what that topic is. So Regan, I know you send it over to my team. They don't share that with me. Just in case we kind of go down or there's an issue with a guest or something like that. So why don't you tell us, what topic did you bring for us to discuss today? And we'll all give our surprise faces. Last week, these girls were like, what?
So my topic that I'm bringing to this table is why most people will never achieve the money, the fame, or the lifestyle that they actually desire. Oh, I love
this. It's actually funny because Stephanie, you posted this week.
Yeah,
like very similar. So
it's on repeat for me. It's so unreal. Wow. This is so perfect right now.
Oh my goodness. So why don't you start us off then, Regan, with some of your thoughts, and we'll kind of, go around and we'll hop in as we go.
Look, I think there's a lot of reasons, and I could probably talk for hours and hours on end on this. So if I was to kind of summarize them, I would say firstly that people don't have the right mindset. Like, they're not conditioned to succeed, and they don't do the internal work. So I think that's the biggest thing holding them back. I think so many people don't get what they want in life because they're not actually clear on what they want. They're like, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want to be this, I want to be that, but they don't actually know the specifics on it. It's like, okay, I want more money. And it's like, well, how much more money? If I give you $1, are you going to be financially free? And they're like, no. And I'm like, what about 10? They're like, no. And I'm like, well, how much? Like, they've never actually stepped in this space of actually claiming what it is that they actually want. And then I think the third thing is their work ethic. I'm relentless with anything that I set my mind to. There is religion as to whether I'm going to achieve it or not. It's already done. It's just a matter of actually making the decision and doing the work. So I believe that most people aren't relentless enough. I also believe they're not committed enough. They're just not 100% in. They're like 95% in, and there's still just like 5% holding this back somewhere. So that would be my summary of what I think.
Awesome. Well, how about you, Stephanie? Because I know you posted kind of about this week, and you were just like all over it right from the get-go. So let's go over to you.
Mine's I know that I had to do the inner work, get aligned with what I really wanted to happen. But more than that, I just feel like people aren't willing to commit to taking action. Like, they're just not willing to do what it takes. And I'd love to say that they're 95% in, but really I think like 2% are in. In my experience, like, they say, like, I want this, but then it's like, well, what are you willing to do to make it happen? Because I feel like every day we're all blessed with the same opportunity, and that's the opportunity to take massive action when we wake up. We can determine if our day is going to be hugely successful, and we're going to signify our, we're going to be like, I'm just not going to get out of bed today, or I'm not going to do what I need to do. And like, most people, they know what they need to do, but they're too freaking afraid to take the first step to make it happen. Like, we're all here today because we didn't let fear get in the way of our dreams. We kept going. And it's not that it gets any less scary. It probably gets more scary because we're making bigger decisions that have more risk on the table, but we do it anyway. And I think that's really important to say. Like, anybody can be here right now. Anybody can be sitting on this round table right now. Anybody can establish any level of success that they desire and deserve in life, in business, love, and whatever it is that they want. But they have to be committed to taking action every day.
Yeah. And what I really love about what you said was that everybody could do this. Anybody could. And the funny thing is that we all have these stories. So when we talk about the mindset work, really, you know, we talk a lot about the limits that we place upon ourselves, and it all is a result of the story. And I know when I started into entrepreneurship, I had this story that meant that your income would be up and down, right? Like that it would be this crazy roller coaster. So of course, that's how it was for me in my first like 3 or 4 months of my business with my interior design business when I first got into entrepreneurship. And it was crazy up and down. My husband calls it the dark ages because we were literally selling off furniture, like anything just, right? And, you know, it was this crazy, crazy period. But that stemmed back to my parents were entrepreneurs. And I can remember my dad buying out the business and that it was this crazy up and down. And for the longest time, I can remember we were heading off on vacation and my dad going and basically like kissing the store. That's how much he loved his business, right? And so I carried with me. It was this passion and this drive. But I also knew that, you know, he was working quite a bit and that, you know, there would be no balance or there would be no this and there would be no that. And that's what showed up for me until I really did this work and I really did the deep inner work and decided that, you know, yeah, I can work incredibly hard and get a lot of stuff done in, let's say, 9-10 hours a day. But there is a great way to have the balance as well, I think. But the I see, and kind of going back to Regan and your point around doing the work, and a lot of people, I find what you get done during the day is just not enough, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's a distraction thing or if that's a mindset thing or if that's a, you know, what it is, or if they just aren't really clear on what they're focusing on. But, you know, if I lay out to somebody, here's everything that I do in a day, they kind of go, whoa, how do you get that done in a day, right? And I'm sure you guys all probably have the same. So I think that's really interesting to sort of lay that out there.
I think, because I love this topic, what actually I see stops people is two things, getting started and not stopping. Yeah. And there's this thing that I do with most of my clients is, especially when you're launching or there is an arc to it where you're like, this is awesome, I'm so excited, I'm gonna get it going. And then they get started and they're like, something didn't work. And most people stop. I say to my clients, call me. And then we figure out the 16 other things you have to do and you have to keep going. And I think the willingness to not just keep going, but not quit. I think the not quit part is, because I've had those times where, you know, I've been in the midst of a launch or something really big that I desire and terrible. And I always forget the book, but there's this amazing way to describe what's happening, especially in entrepreneur life. Most in the middle of what would look like a surgery. Like if you're a doctor and you're doing surgery, you look down and it's a mess because you cut somebody open and it's just messy. And most people see the mess and they stop. What I'm always visioning and what I'm always holding for my clients is the beautiful, perfect body put back together. And if you can keep your focus on that and not quit when things get hard, you will always get to the end. I think people don't get started. Like they think that it's so hard, so they don't start. Right. And then the moment things get hard, they stop. And I find that when things get hard, I go harder. That's the right way to say it. But like that's how we all accomplish is because we keep going. I have something to say too. Right? Yeah. Delegate. Yeah. Like, invest in your success. Like don't get held up on the stuff that you really are not good at, that you don't like to do. Like Heather, you're like, you know, my day looks like this. My day really doesn't look that crazy. Like I do very few things, you know, because I have the right people in place. Like anytime I feel resistant to an activity in my business, and I feel like that's the reason why my business has grown as quick as it has, is because like I look to hire it out to somebody else. And to also say that is like, if you really want this, like if you want to like blow your sales goals out of the water for your business, whatever that looks like to you, like make the investments before you even make the money, as far as I'm concerned. Like I invested in my team before I ever paid myself. And most people aren't willing to do that. Like they're just so tied to that, like that goal, that money, and they keep missing it. And part of the reason why they keep missing it, because we're doing a hell of a lot of things in their day that they shouldn't even be touching. And so anytime there's something that comes up in my business for an opportunity to grow, like I'm talking gangbusters. I'm adding team members on left, right, center, sideways, because I know what I have in place, the more the vision will grow as a result. And then I can just focus on the things that I genuinely like to do and that I'm good at. That's it. And as a result, my clients are happier. They're getting better results. And it's just like this crazy momentum that's going on. So, you know, whatever you're doing, like I am so technically challenged, you know, I'm like, how do I get on my Zoom link today? You know, and which is why I need a full-time developer on my team. So like, what is that for you? Figure that out. I feel like especially when you're getting started, like you can become like set back so many steps by holding on to all of these activities that you're like, well, I need to get my landing page up to be successful, but you know, I don't know all this technology crap. It's like, well, find somebody to do it for you, you know, and there are people at every stage of the game, because my full-time developer now was a 1 hour a day contracted employee in the beginning. So like, there's always people out there that are willing to do the work for you. And then as you grow and as they help you grow your vision, the capacity in which you work with them can grow too. So I think that's really important, because that's one of the most important things in my business. Like I can signify, I can look back and say, well, when did things change? And things started really shifting and changing for me. One, when I got out of my own way, and two, when I started giving things away and I stopped trying to be it all, do it all, to have it all, because that was keeping me small and like in a ridiculous amount of debt. So that's what I have to say.
That's such a valid point, Stephanie. And I actually just came straight off a client call where someone was asking me, they were like, you know, I want to up level. I want this amazing team. I want to work with all of these high-end coaches and mentors. Like, how do I know when I'm ready? And when do I start doing that? I'm like, the minute you decide you need that, you need to do it, like now, you know. And I shared that whenever I've invested in my team or, you know, massively in coaches or mentors over the years, it's never been like, oh, like I have all that money just sitting there now. Like, oh, I think I'll just like allocate it over there. Like, you know, it's never like that ever. And then some people are like, oh, well, you know, let me get to this certain point and then I'll get the mentor. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, hire the person that's going to help you get you there in the first place, but do it after you get there. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like saying, oh, you know, actually, I was talking to Kat before and she's like, you know, it's like people that are like, oh, you know, I'll get a PT and go to the gym like once I'm in shape. And it's like, are you insane? Right? You've got to literally like get into this place of starting before you're ready. And if you're someone where there's a mentor or a coach or a team member that you're like desiring to work with, you need to make it happen. Like, even if it means, you know, getting into debt or doing whatever it takes. Like, I have clients that sell their cars to work with me. Like, it is ridiculous in the normal world go through to do that. But at the same time, they're so committed by that point. They're all in. There is no other option. There's no like, oh, I might make it or I might not, or I might get results or I might not. They're 110% in, right? So I think if you put yourself in that position and delegate and surround yourself with the right team and the right coaches and the right mentors, you're going to do that. But look, let's face it, most people won't.
Yeah, it's so true.
The commitment thing is humongous, right? And you were talking about that concept of like a little bit out. I find that the people who are like 99% committed than if they were only like 1% committed, because they think they're committed and they stay in the struggle. The moment that you like cross that threshold, for me, it took a long time to understand commitment. Hell, I was with my husband for 8 years before we got married because I just had trouble with commitment. But I remember in my business, what shifted for me when I actually embraced what it meant to be committed, and that there was no, I stopped the struggle by simply stepping that extra 1 or 2% into my clients and folks around me to like really do a check-in. Are you committed, or is this something you want? Because if you're committed, it's kind of like getting pregnant. There really isn't a turning back point. Like, I remember literally being during, you know, labor and delivery, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. My husband's like, what are you talking about? You're doing it. Attached with your business. Like, your business is like a baby, and it needs to be in that place where like it's happening no matter what. There is no turning back. And as soon as you step into that, the stuff you need shows up. And I love what you were saying about getting started before you're ready. I remember like I got Entreport when I had like a couple people on my list, like literally a couple people on my list, because I knew where I want to go. And if you try to be cheap, do it all yourself, be in that scramble and that struggle, it keeps you there longer. So the faster over the threshold of commitment, the faster the things you want will come to you.
You know, and I'm hearing a lot about sort of the money mindset coming into play here as well, and how that really holds us back. You know, making that leap, and committing before you feel fully ready, and really jumping into that fear, down to that money mindset, and trusting that as you commit yourself to this, as you shift into that 100% commitment from the 99 to the 100%, that the money will start to flow and the money will start to come. And you really have to trust that when you do the work, and when you have the right people, when you have a great plan and you know what you're doing, that the money will come, right? And so I always say, you know, money is commitment. Really and truly, money is commitment. So Stephanie, you mentioned you invested in your team, and Regan, you mentioned you invested in your mentor right before you felt ready to do that. So money is commitment. And it's sort of like, you know, if I'm going out for a pair of shoes, if I run over to the Walmart and buy a $10 pair of shoes, I'm probably going to kick them off of the door. They've got mud on the heel, you know, like whatever. It's just $10 pair. I can go and buy them. If I go out and I buy a pair of Louboutins, I'm going to come home, put them in the dust cover, you know, like clean off that heel, make sure there's no grass on the heel. I'm probably never going to wear them because they're too dirty, right? But I'm fully committed to taking care of those shoes, right? And so it's funny, if I look even in my closet, I have shoes like that. I've got 2 or 3 pairs that are in the dust cover, everything else just sort of thrown in there, right? And it's because I invested in those pairs. So really, when you take a look and you step back, it turns the other way as well, right? It turns the other way with your clients too. And all of these great things, you know, really confidence and knowing that this money is a commitment, and when you're fully committed to something, it's going to work.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to let it fail. You know, when you make that commitment and you're so far out of your you're so far out of your comfort zone, you're not going to let it fail.
You also have to take action, right? Yeah. Like massive action regularly.
Yeah.
And it's scary all the time. Like it never becomes less scary, you know? But I think that like there's this like kind of bad feeling, like some bad juju, like in the like coaching space, because some people think like, well, if I just hire the coach, like I'm gonna get there. And then it's like, well, no, not necessarily. Like we did invest the money, but showed up to, and even on the worst day we still showed up, you know. I mean, like when I started working with my mentor, I cried like after every week of our call for probably the first 2 months. Like it literally like it sucked because it was so much change so quickly, and like typically we want to protect ourselves from that change because it feels uncomfortable, and we want to stay in our comfort zone, but staying in our comfort zone is not going to get us there. So at that point I was like, I'll do whatever it takes. I don't care what he tells me to do, I'm doing it. And I did, but it was so, you know, it was such a different way of thinking and a way of doing that it was extremely uncomfortable, and it was leaving me feeling really vulnerable. And yeah, I cried for the first 2 months, but I still did the work. And that's why my future, or now my reality, my present, looks a lot different than it did then, you know? So it's not just about the commitment or about the investment. It's about also making sure that you're committed to taking massive action on a regular basis. The other thing is, I feel like a lot of people get really held up on the money, like the financial goal. Well, they just like set this big goal. Like I have to make 6 figures my first year in business, or I have to cross that 7-figure mark. And my belief is that money is a result of doing something that you really fucking love. Like it is a result. It is the impact that you're making on other people's lives, businesses. It's being in your zone of genius. It's staying in your lane. It's being fully in your purpose unapologetically. Like the money comes, like it will pouring. But when it's just about the money, you will be broke for the rest of your life if that is the mentality. So it has to be more about, how can I use my own gifts that I was born with, my own skills, my own gifts, my own passion, my own purpose, and apply it in a way that serves the world, because in a return it will serve you in more ways than you ever knew possible.
Because money is impact, right? I mean, we talked money is commitment, but money is also impact. And you know, when I look at my bank account, and if there's any sort of dip, I sort of step back and I say, well, what kind of impact have I made? And most of the time, if I look, I'll say, well, you know what? That discovery call that I did, I wasn't at my best. I didn't make the greatest impact in that person's life. Or you know, I haven't been putting myself out there as much and really sharing that impact. So.
Do we just blow each other's minds? Yeah, that was amazing.
So funny. It's so funny. It's kind of the kind of coaching call where you're just like, and you're letting it sit in, and you're trying to bite your tongue, and you know what I mean? Because you can see they're processing.
And also, I think finding your way to do it. There's something that I've learned, like I am a high risk, jump off the bridge, I will build the plane around me, and maybe I don't even need a plane. I know that about me, so I do things like that. Like my husband, before we were all the way ready, and then I went and had like my biggest month ever. But I have a lot of clients who, if you pull the rug out from underneath them, they would curl up in a ball. And I always think, I've got 2 gals that we helped like release their full-time jobs while we were working together. And both of them, we created one, it was like 6 months before she left. And the other one was like I think it was supposed to be 5 months, so it turned to 4. And we did the things so that they were both comfortable, and then they jumped. And I think you have to know for yourself, like, I think a lot of people get stuck in struggle because they're trying to do what their mentor does, or like they see somebody else doing it this way and they think, I've got to go do that. Like if I had to right now build a membership site, that would probably like, you know, I would, it's not my style, but
nope.
It's brilliant for other people. So I do my stuff my way. And I think that's like one of the keys. So getting committed, making the investment, being willing to do all the work, but like do it your way. When you try to put somebody else's flavor of success on, it's like a bad fitting dress. It doesn't fit you, it doesn't cover you right, and it's not gonna make you happy, and you won't stay committed. It's like that little cycle. So pick what you want for you.
Yeah, I think it's important to really understand between like, doing it my way, am I living in this fear of like, oh, I'm gonna do this way because that's where I'm comfortable, or stepping back into, you know, we've mentioned uncomfortable quite a few times, so really that discomfort, right? I mean, I use kind of fear and discomfort as a compass, and it's like if I'm right in the middle of sort of fear and discomfort, then I'm probably on the right path, right? Because if I go too far into fear, too far into discomfort, you want to kind of stay somewhere in between, and you're always feeling uncomfortable, you're always feeling a little bit of fear, but you're moving past it. You're not completely debilitated by either one.
I think that's valid as well, because I feel like a lot of people look at, you know, really successful, especially, and I feel like they think there is no fear. I feel like they think that we've been sorts or something, and we've like moved through fear, and like it's like no longer something that we deal with, right? And it's like, are you freaking serious? It gets worse, right?
Yeah.
Like the bigger the game you play, the more fear there is, and the more self-doubt there is, and the more self-talk. Like it's actually you know, feel like I'm like, look, okay, it is a real thing because it's affecting your results most likely. So let's acknowledge that it's there, firstly. And secondly, how do you use it to actually fuel you? You know, I always use the example of, it's like you're driving a car, right? And you're in the driver's seat and you're driving towards your vision, and fear's always in the back seat. Like whether you like it or not, you turn left, you turn right, fear's always there. But how do you choose that fear treats you? Does fear like creep around from the back seat and like, you know, hold your eyes so you can't see when you're driving the car? Does fear like grab your throat so you can't breathe, so you get stressed out, so you just get out of the fucking car completely, and it's like, I can't handle the fear in there? Or are you like, hey fear, like chill out, get back in the back seat you belong, I acknowledge you there to keep you safe, and keep driving? And I think it's really a mindset, and it's a choice. And I feel like people need to know, if they're listening in, that it doesn't go away. And so until you learn to actually dance with it and use the fear to fuel you, it's not something that you're going to like break through and overcome and become this robot that all of a sudden has no emotions, right? I think it's an important thing.
Yeah, and also I think the difference between what we can create and what somebody else who's stuck in fear is the way you choose to get through it. I love that you gave that analogy of in the back seat, because it is like, we just traveled with our 5-year-old, and give him a computer to watch, otherwise he will go crazy, which will make us crazy, and then we're not driving well. I think one of the smartest things you can do with mentors especially is is have people in a support system that helps you walk through your fear with more speed. Because I think when people get caught in the fear and they're stuck in it too long, that's when they quit. I know, because I have fear kick up like crazy, but I know who I need to reach out to. I know what I need to say, help me ask a better question, help me see this a different way so I can move through it. And I think anybody who can surround yourself with those types of people, that's going to help you manage the fear, not get rid of it or release it, but like keep it in the back seat, give it a help us stay back there.
It's so cute. I love that that you guys have these great analogies, because really and truly that fear, I love also that we're talking about the fact that all of us still experience that, and that it's a real thing, because like Regan said, you're right. So many people are out there just touting, fear is not real, and all these different things. And I always say to people, I mean, fear is a thought, so you can change a thought in an instant, but that doesn't mean that it's easy to do, right? I mean, you have to, first of all, recognize that fear is there. And sometimes that's the hardest thing, because we have these stories that we've written and we just look for the truths all around us to really validate that story that we have, right? And so I had a really big fear of really speaking to people that I felt were more successful than me, right? Like I really did have this great fear of it. And I remember the mentor that I worked with now, I can remember with him, I was like, I'm terrified to speak to this person. I'm not even going to reach out. And when I started working with him, so great things happened in my business and all these things. And now I look back and I'm like, I don't know why I was afraid of you. But even pulling together this show, Rich said to me, who would you love to have on this show? And one person came up with Stephanie. And it's so funny because Stephanie and I, we've done a few things together, and, we were friends for a while, and yet I had this fear of asking her to do this. I was like, she's going to say no.
No.
I know, it's so
No.
crazy. And it's so funny, but he did, right?
And I said hell yes, right?
Yeah. I
You
didn't even know the
like,
details.
yeah, let's do
You're just
it.
like, yeah, let's do this. And so it's so funny because when we make these really bold moves and we feel like we're so afraid to do it, great things do come when you make bold proposals. And that's a really big thing. I mean, Laura, obviously you being a sales coach, proposal, if you never ask for those sales, the money's not going to come, right? And I think that that's a live in for whatever reason. It could be judgment. It could be, oh, I don't think that I'm as good as them, so they're not going to come in, and whatever it is. Yeah, and just really stepping into that and saying, again, with that compass, well, feeling afraid to do this, then that's probably where I have to go, probably what I need to do.
It's perceived rejection. Like this is what, and I think, call it sales or anything you're doing in your business, there's this, you in your mind think it's not going to work versus why don't I try it? And I think a lot of times also everyone gets caught in this thing of like, this is my only shot. And I think that's another thing that really shuts people down is like, they have an idea or a thought and they're like, well, if this doesn't work, I'm screwed. So this is like my third business. One was massively, wonderfully successful. One was a disaster. And now I'm in a massively wonderful one again. But like, there's never like, this is the only chance. This is not ever the only opportunity. It's not the only person you've never talked to. So maybe also take some pressure off. I know we talk a lot about commitment and doing the hard work and all that stuff, but also letting yourself just ask for what you want and know that this is not your only and for like, okay, so if Stephanie had said no, you would have asked like 4 or 5 other people.
Exactly.
That you choose to give it. So it does exist, but if we wake up today and we're like, we're not going to let fear dictate the results today, the outcome today. We're not going to let fear, every day or even like every hour, just like do a check-in. Like, is fear getting in the way of the next step, the next thing, the next investment, the next team member, the next, opportunity to host something like this, and asking that person like, I mean, I'm over I'll take bold moves every day of the week, because I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Somebody can say no to you. Okay, well, what if, you're leaving so much on the table if someone says yes, that you're projecting a no already, right? It's like, why do you do that? I don't know, I've been having these downloads, there's things coming to me a lot lately. And something that came up was why do we think all of the reasons why something can't happen? Why are we programmed to think in terms of, oh my God, well, this can't happen because of this, and Sally has gymnastics practice on this day, and I have and there's traffic, and this, that, and that, and the other thing. It's why can't it happen? Why not? We have to start thinking in terms of all the reasons why this can happen versus all the reasons why this can't happen, so that we're actually moving ourselves energetically in the direction of getting a yes, whatever it is. I mean, we're selling people all day long, every day. I mean, you're selling me to be part of this show, right? I mean, you're selling your client, you're selling your husband, your lover, your whatever it is. Hopefully not both at the same time. But we have to get used to it. It's not. It doesn't have to be something that it's energetically displeasing. This is what we do on a regular basis. So it's okay to ask, and let's try to reprogram our thought processes to think in terms of why this can happen, why it will work out, instead of why it won't. Right?
Yeah, asking better questions. That's the why I choose to work with coaches and mentors, is because I want to see things from a different perspective. And when I can get myself to see it, or if someone can help me re-see a different way, then stuff works. And that is the key, asking a better question, asking how can this work versus why won't it work?
Yeah. Definitely. And I loved what you said, Laura. Earlier, just lost my train of thought. I was listening to you. I was
that happens when we're off.
I'm gonna go back to that. Damn, no, it's completely gone.
I'll take it.
Yeah, it'll come back to me. It'll come back. It'll download again. No, it's gone.
So that's the thing. This isn't your only shot. It will come back. Your thought will come back.
That's what I was talking about. That's what I was. Right.
I'm done for the day.
How you were saying, people need to relieve some of the pressure, right? And actually take some pressure off and be like, okay, this is not your only shot. There are a whole lot of other options there. And I think, again, that's a mindset thing that people need to tap into more, is getting clear on what are the outcomes, what is the result, and really writing out the reality as if it's happened already. It's operating from the space of, well, it's done, and this is what it looks like, and here's the person that I've become in the process, and here's energetically how it feels, and here's the life I'm living, and here's my clients, my tribe, and everything, right down to the minor details. But then releasing the how, okay? And there's this fine line between being able to release the how but still take massive daily action, aligned to actually get you to that reality, basically. And that's the thing. I see people go either way. I see people either just dream and not do anything, or they're I know what I want, but then they get stuck in the how, and they're oh, it has to happen this way, or this is my only shot, and that's when they put all the pressure on. And it's and the minute that you lock it into, well, it's got to happen like this, you close off all these other ways that it could potentially manifest, right? And all these unexpected conversations or connections or people that might pop up that might actually get you there even quicker than what you were thinking. So yeah, I think it's a big thing. It's actually going, okay, I'm 100% in. This is the reality. I'm totally clear on that. I'm open to how it's going to happen. I'm taking massive daily aligned action, but I'm not locked. I feel that will maybe help remove some of that pressure for some people.
Yeah.
I love that you said that.
Can I say something? It never happens how you think you want it
to.
That's true.
Never. But sometimes it happens even better. It happens in a way that really does fully support you. The end result might be the same, I mean, I have a baby now, right? What? That didn't happen surely how I thought it would, but she's such a huge blessing, and she's meant to be in my life, in my world, and she changed it in every way, and awesome. And it didn't happen how I thought it would, but not, and it's relating to business, to life, to everything. I mean, even when we set these goals and we're we think it's gonna happen like this, and we're gonna sell this, and it's gonna be we're working with this and then this, and then you look at how you got there at the end of the year, and it was not like that at all. But it was in a way that actually did serve your highest vision. So it happened better than you ever anticipated, right? And different programs took off, but supported you. So it really worked out. So yeah, don't really get stuck with the how, because it typically will never go that exact way. I mean, anything in my life is never, as far as I'm concerned. So I mean, it's always, you know, gotten there over time, but like not the way that I had planned it out to be. So
right.
Just take that with you. Put that in your back pocket. Okay.
Yeah, relax. It's not gonna look like what it should look like. Or it always, if you're open, it's better. One of my clients just did this. She was really locked into 10 people in a program, and it had to happen first before she could go do something else. And I was like, why don't you just hold on to the amount of money you want and be in a place of really excited to serve people, and just see how the conversations go. Not, I talk with this person, they have to buy this, yes or no. The person she talked to bought something that was greater value than if she had sold all 10 people, and it took one phone call. So be in the open space and get into motion. Yeah. Motion solves a lot of things. Maybe not everything, but a lot of things.
Yeah. And have multiple paths to that goal as well, right? And I know Lauren, we've talked a lot about that, but having the multiple paths and not being stuck to that one plan, like Stephanie said, I mean, it's sort of like having this perfect, like, I'm going to get married by 30, I'm going to have a baby by 32, I'm going to, you know, retire at 65 with X amount of dollars. And then all of a sudden something happens, right? And you, oh my gosh, I'm 30 and I never met that man, right? Or like whatever it is. And so, yeah, like, oh shit. You know, and it was the same thing when I met my husband. I decided, like, our second date, I'm going to marry this person. It took him a lot longer to get to that point. And I was sort of like, I actually told him the year we got married, I think it was year, I don't know, 5 or 6, something like that. And I said to him, I'm going to marry someone in Vegas in November. I'm sure I can find someone there if it's not going to be you, right? And it was sort of like, we just need to do this. Let's give you a gentle push, because he hates change. He's really averse to change, right? But not having that dead set plan and being really open to having multiple paths and to explore what come up, because sometimes we get this tunnel vision, right? And we're like, we're working on this and we're so dead focused on it, but we have this tunnel vision. And sometimes magic is created in space. And, you know, one thing actually, when I did some work with Laura, one thing she forced me to do was to book 3 hours of me time into my calendar, because I am somebody who will just work, like really super focused and never take a break. And as soon as I did that, it was like this right? I mean, these ideas do come, but you have to get out of the tunnel for you to be able to see these things.
True. Awesome.
Yeah, so true, so true. All right, guys, so we're about 36 minutes, so I want to kind of start to wrap things up, as amazing as the conversation's been. So, Regan, for those out there who kind of want to learn a little bit more about you, let them know where can they find you, where can they hang out with you, where can they play with you?
Absolutely. Yeah, so if you go to reganhillyer.com, it is just my name. It is super easy. You can follow me over there and obviously download one of my books as well and subscribe. But I'm really active on all social media. It's all just under Regan Hillyer, so you can definitely follow me through there and make sure you reach out and come say hi.
Yay! All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much for being here. The topic was amazing. Obviously, we had some great discussion today. Everybody watching had, you know, even just one little nugget of knowledge to really take with them. So thanks, guys, for being here, and we will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Listen, bye now.